up here with Mr. Whitehouse again. I want to make something clear before we even start this, to lay a quick foundation for it based on what we've heard throughout this process. We are talking about the comprehensive plan and the future land use map within that plan and the areas that are identified on that map. That does not equate to a zoning change. That just equates to possibilities of how that land can be used. No matter what happens with the comprehensive plan when it's adopted or if any changes are made to that map, any future land use, any future zoning, conditional use, RPC, in a subdivision, but any future change in zone, conditional use, or RPC has to still go through additional public hearings before both planning and zoning and county council. So whatever may happen today, or what's happened in the past, or what happens in the future with regard to the map, that's only sort of the initial step of establishing possibilities. You all ultimately have to decide whether some future actual land use is appropriate in that location. I just wanted to lay that foundation out because I think that's been missed by some people in this process. So, thanks, Mr. Whitehouse. Thank you, Mr. President.
Whitehouse. Mr. President, members of Council. Council may remember this ordinance from the public hearing on January 25th of this year, and staff thought it would be helpful, as it's been over a month now, to just provide a recap of the chronology for the ordinance and then visually just walk through some of the county's version of the slides that were presented in the public hearing. So the ordinance was introduced back in October 19th of last year, and that led to a hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission at its meeting of November 18th. The Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation was made on December 9th of last year, and that led to a County Council public hearing which was held on December 14th of last year. That record was left open at that public hearing, and then the public hearing was continued at Council's meeting of January 11th of this year. And again, that record was left open at the conclusion of that meeting, and the record was continued and left open to the County Council meeting of January 25th, where the record was closed, and now it is back as old business. Staff wanted to provide just a brief overview of the comprehensive plan dating back to what happened in 2018, particularly the summer of 2018 leading up to certification in 2019. So the County Council held a workshop on the comprehensive plan on May 23rd of 2018. That workshop was the last workshop that led to the submission of the Comprehensive Plan 2+, which is the state's preliminary land use review service, and that review took place on August 22nd of 2018. Following receipt of the PLUS comments in September, there was a County Council workshop that was held on October 15th of 2018. And then following that, there was a County Council public hearing on October 23rd of 2018. Based upon all those discussions, staff did work to revise with our consultants the future land use map that was included in the draft, and I'll show some illustrations of that as it particularly relates to the future land use map revision site that we're looking at as part of the current ordinance. So the most important date after that is that after the November 15th discussions with staff, Council adopted the comprehensive plan at its meeting of December 4th, and that was submitted back to the State Planning Office, and then that was submitted for certification to the Governor, and then the Governor's certification of the comprehensive plan followed on March 19th of the following year in 2019. So just to recap some of the slides, this is the 2008 future land use map that was referred to in the public hearing, and you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 5 parcels. Parcel 44 is included down here in the bottom left. This identified that 2 of the parcels were located in a growth area, in a developing area, which is shown in bright yellow. One of the parcels was partially located within a mixed residential area, which is that parcel 2010, map 12, parcel 27 in the northeast. And then 2 of the parcels were also located in a mixed residential area. So with that in mind, I just wanted to refer to the 2018 zoning map as it existed when the comprehensive plan went through. So this is the zoning map that was used as part of staff's work with consultants to create the revised future land use map in November of 2018. And what it did is the orange areas are shown as GR zoning. And you can see the other zoning, and you can see that in the legend. And you see that in the bottom left-hand corner of map 12 parcel 1, you can see there's neighbourhood business zoning, and then you can see that map 12 parcel 27 actually had split zoning. It had GR in the northeast corner, and in the southwest it was AR1. And the other parcel to the south, 532.19.1, was AR1, and the remaining 2 were GR. And then what happened when staff were working on the comprehensive plan, this is what the future land use map looked like when it was submitted to PLUS in the summer of 2018. And having looked into this further, staff have been able to identify that the reason the existing development area is bridged like this is because if you look at the zoning map, part of the parcel, so the parcel boundary actually extends all the way to here and they touch one another. Part of the parcel was GR and part of the parcel was neighbourhood business. And when it was a computer system that identified what parcels were being designated as existing development area, the county was too large to go parcel by parcel, so we used computer software to do this. The consultant's computer program identified parcel 27 and parcel 1 as having neighbourhood business zoning, and what they did is they identified the entirety of the parcel as being within the existing development area. So council would have seen this prior to going to plus, and it went to plus. And then what happened is in November, prior to adoption, staff worked with consultants to prepare a final version of the future land use map. And then what happened is it snapped back to match that GR zoning. So there's a GR zoning, there's what it looked like before it went to plus, and here's what it looked like at the point of adoption. And you can see that it snapped back to match that underlying zoning. So staff were able to understand and ultimately be able to explain how that change occurred. And then it was adopted in this manner. So turning to the applicant's request, there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parcels, as council heard during the public hearing, with a total area of approximately 895 acres, more or less. And then what the staff have prepared is just a summary to show that the request that the applicant has made to staff, and that resulting in the ordinance, is to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parcels and take them from either the low density area or the existing development area and take them to the developing area. And the significance of this is the colours. This orangey colour is actually called mango. That's the official name for it, as it's designated on the computer. And then the existing development area is this light yellow or pastel yellow colour. So staff just wanted to illustrate that. It was referred to in multiple different ways, and the applicant submitted their own slides during the hearing, but we just wanted to summarise for you. And then Mr Robertson is able to speak to the significance of the colouring in terms of the tables within table 4.5-2 within the future land use maps.
So recall that, if you just want to leave that one up, the mapping has to match the underlying zoning. The existing developing area or development area only permits 2 zoning classifications, existing zoning classifications within it, medium density or MR and general residential GR. The developing area, while it's a longer list of possible, remember it's possible zoning classifications, unlike the existing developing area, the developing area permits the underlying zoning to be AR1 zoning. So that guides us in many ways how we color that map. And I think the easiest way to break this down is there's sort of 3 separate classifications on the request that's before you this morning. And maybe if I could go to the map, if you want to put, let's see, that one's, yeah, let's use that one. So, recall in 2008, this was all what was called mixed residential. It was adopted as being in the existing developing area, which matched the underlying zoning because it's GR zoned. The applicants have requested to change that land use map designation from the existing developing area to the developing area. That's the one that allows, remember, AR1 all the way through all the commercial and even some industrial zones. However, it was always a growth area, and so there's theoretically no need to change that from existing development to developing because it remains a growth area and it matches the underlying zoning. So that's parcels 42 and 44. The middle ones are what I refer to as parcel 1 and parcel 1. It's map 12 parcel 1, map 19 parcel 1. These are the ones where there was a substantive change between 2008 and our 2018 future land use maps. In 2008, both of these were growth areas, and then for the reasons that Jamie just explained, in 2018, that went away. And we think that, as he explained, the reason that parcel 1 and parcel 1 went back to low density is because the underlying zoning was AR1. The significance of that is that's a substantive change because low density is a lot different than a growth area. And so there was never a decision by planning and zoning or county council to take it from a growth area down to a low density area in our map. And instead, what they did is they just put it back to low density area. Really, it should have remained a growth area, and the growth area would have been the developing area because that allows the AR1 zoning that's underneath. So that's these two. And then this one, what you need to decide is how you want to deal with it, which is parcel 27. Because in 2008, half the parcel was in the mixed residential area, and the discussions during the comp plan process in 2018, at one point, it was all colored existing development area, and then when it was adopted, it went back to being half in, half out. So half of it, roughly, how long you can see as he's toggling back and forth, half of it was in the existing development area, and half of it was in the low density area. But that, again, that matches the 2008 map. It went through some morphs during the mapping process of the comp plan. But in the end, in the 2008 map was colored like it was in 2000, or the 2018 map was colored like it was in 2008.
I mean, I think, I'm sorry, are you done or no? You're
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we sat here and listened to a lot of presentations, but unless I am mistaken, what I heard was 2008, the owner had something. 2018, he lost something because it was going away. And the request was to put back what was taken, not by the council, not by P&Z, through computers, how it was done, that's how it was done. So I would think we should begin this whole process. There's going to be something else, I don't know, but I think we should make it look like it did in 2008, which is when the taking by somebody went away. A computer, I guess, did that, not us. But so, however, my opinion, how we get to that, I guess you can work us through it. But it should look like it did in 2008, where that other side is not white, it's yellow and whatever.
So if I could go back to that map.
Sure.
The way to do that would be to basically pull parcels 42 and 44 out of that ordinance so that they remain existing development areas, which again,
Which is what they were in 2008.
that's and what they were in, what they were in 2008.
Okay.
Right. And then, I mean, it was a different classification.
But
yeah.
same. Yeah.
And in 2018, they were existing developing areas. They wanted to convert both of those to developing areas. But you're right. So we can pull 42 and 44 out if that's what you want to do. With parcel 12-1 and 19-1, what we have to make those to make them growth areas to as close as we can to get it back to 2008
Sure.
is call those developing areas. Because remember, under the chart that Mr. Whitehouse put up here, right, the only one that allows AR1 is the developing area. We can't call that existing development area because you see it does not list AR1
Sure.
as a permitted zoning. So if you could flip back to the so the result would be basically what the ordinance asks for with parcels, both parcel number ones. And then with parcel 27, if that's what council wants to do, it would be to pull that one back out of the ordinance and essentially leave it the way it was mapped currently in 2018.
But by doing those three things I think you just went through, that would put it back like it was in 2008, which is what the owner thought he had.
It would put it back to
somebody looked at the 2018 map and it wasn't what he had.
Yeah, that's right. It would put it back to as close as we can get it to what it was in 2008 under the 2018 standards.
Okay. Which I think that's my goal anyway, but any more thoughts, comments, whatever you want to do, I don't.
So if that's the council's desire, what we need to do is amend the ordinance. And I'm going to need Mr. Moore to help me through that. I think what we need to do first is read the existing short
Yes,
title.
typically we'd read the existing short title. Then after that, before there is a motion, they would ask for any amendments.
The only question I have is, does it make sense for parcel 27 to be split like that, really? I mean, I know that's not exactly how it was in 2008, but does that make sense? I don't understand how they arrive at
We certainly have parcels can are split.
I mean,
So that's what it looks like, as it looked like in 2018, that's how
Right.
it looks today. So it does follow natural features. We weren't able to go back and find the date the original GR was approved, because if you look at the zoning map, that just matches that GR, and it appears to follow a natural feature, if that helps. There is a defined boundary to follow. We can map that, and it has been mapped. So
I've just always wondered what the logic or method was when they originally set these areas out, you know? Because it seems random at times.
It is possible they either intentionally follow the natural boundary at the time, or it's possible that the tax parcels look differently back when that original change of zone took place. We didn't actually go that far back in the history. We kind of were looking at 2018, but we could research it. But there's probably a methodology that was followed as to why that GR was cut through the parcel like that.
Can you point at that property that Mr. Riley's? Okay. So you're subdividing a property by zoning line.
Well, so it's currently subdivided by the GR zoning. I mean, and that probably goes back to 1970-something when the GR zoning and the zoning was established in Sussex County. So that exists. The zoning exists. In 2008 and in 2018, the comprehensive plans map classifications just match the zoning line. So the zoning has always been split. It didn't follow boundaries, and the comp plan mapping simply followed that zoning.
I think at a minimum, we need to restore what was inadvertently changed.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever occurred, however it occurred, what Jamie said, it wasn't through nobody's fault. It just, the computer cleanup did what it did. It hit it. And I think in all honesty, I mean, I guess nobody was here with me, so I'll take the blame. Most of our time was spent looking at the east side of the county. Sure. And nobody looked at west of Delmar to see what had been changed or not been changed or whatever else. And now it's brought to our attention. I think we need to make that thing right like it was, and then they can move forward. If they want to do something else next, that's up, whatever. That's just personal opinion.
Did you, I'm sorry. Did you finish your discussion on?
I just wonder, to me it looks odd.
I agree. I think it should be colored all,
Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's do this then. Let's do these things in order.
Sure.
So let's do the first one on the left side there.
Okay.
And then the second one is what is now white and should be yellow or something in 2008.
Right.
And then we'll deal with number 3 and see what we want to do. Right?
Well, let me then read.
I'm going to give the gavel to over here so I'll make the motion.
Okay. Mr. Moore, I'll read it, but jump in if I do something wrong procedurally. So the ordinance title is an ordinance to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan in relation to tax parcel number 53212, 1.00, 53212, 27.00, 532 18.00, 42.00, 532 18.00, 44.00, and 532 19.00, 1.00. So the first thing is Mr. President, I guess you're just a regular council person now.
I am.
Talk to him. Gee, thanks.
Talk to him.
Mr. Hudson, President Hudson, is before I read a proposed motion, is there agreement to leave parcel 42 and 44 colored the way it is now as an existing developing area, which is a growth area under the 2018 plan?
I think that would be appropriate.
I'll say that again now. Do what?
So you're going to leave those two as currently mapped, which is as the existing development area, which is a growth area. That's the way they are in the 2018 plan.
Right.
Okay. So with that in mind, I'll read a motion to amend this ordinance, President Hudson.
Okay, thanks.
It is, be it moved that Sussex County Council amend the ordinance to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan to delete tax map and parcel number 532 18.00, 42.00, and 532-18.00 44.00 from the short title of the ordinance, and for the following reasons. I'm going to hit the pause button there for a second. This isn't part of the motion. By deleting them from the short title, that means they're not affected by this ordinance, and they will remain the way they're colored right now.
Okay.
Just so you understand it. 1, after considering all the information in the record and the information reviewed and presented by staff, this is certainly a unique situation that relates back to the technical work that occurred as our current comprehensive plan was being finalized. In the 2008 future land use map, the properties that are the subject of this ordinance were identified as being part of either the mixed residential area or the developing area. Both of these categories were considered growth areas according to the 2008 comprehensive plan. Parcels 42.00 and 44.00 were specifically identified as being within the mixed residential area category. In the case of parcels 53212 and 532-19-1, the map was incorrectly revised to a low-density area designation because the proposed existing development area designation did not match the underlying AR1 zoning. A last-minute technical correction occurred to delete the draft existing development area designation because the underlying AR1 zoning is not permitted within the existing development area. Staff has determined that these were not the result of a specific authorization to do so by the Planning and Zoning Commission or County Council. However, in the case of parcels 532, 18.00, 42.00, and 44.00, the existing development area identified on the future land use map is a growth area designation, and it does match the underlying GR zoning. They were identified as being within the existing development area throughout the county's consideration of the draft future land use map. These properties were identified as a growth area in 2008, and they are currently identified as a growth area on the 2018 map. As a result, there is no need to change this category to a developing area designation as requested. These two properties are currently zoned GR, which is a permitted zoning classification in the existing development area that was given to those two properties in the 2018 future land use map. 6, it is appropriate for these two properties to remain a growth area with the current existing development area designation that is shown on the county's future land use map. 7, this ordinance should be amended to delete the requested change in future land use category from existing development area to developing area for tax map and parcel number 532 18.00-42.00 and 532-18.00-44.00 by deleting these two parcels from the short title of the ordinance and from section 1 of the ordinance. 8, as a result of this amendment, the short title of this ordinance shall now state as follows: an ordinance to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan in relation to tax parcel number 532-12.00, 1.00, 532-12.00, 27.00, and 532-19.00-100. As a result of this amendment, Section 1 of this ordinance shall now state as follows. Section 1, the future land use map identified as figure 4.5-1 of the Sussex County Comprehensive Plan is hereby amended to change the area designation for Sussex County parcel numbers 532-12.00-1.00, 532-19.00-1.00, and 532-12.00-27.00 from the low-density area and or existing development area to the developing area. These parcels so changed are identified in Exhibit A, attached hereto, and incorporated herein.
Pleasure of council.
I'm glad you read that. I'll make the motion to do exactly what he read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll take the vote. Are any questions first? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carried.
Okay, so the next one deals with the one at the top right, which is parcel 27. So we've heard some discussion this morning, still this morning, on whether to basically leave that alone or to allow it to be changed as the applicant requested. If we allow it to be changed as the applicant requested, there's not really anything we need to do to amend the ordinance. If we are going to pull it out, then there has to be another motion to amend like we just did. So if you know, I guess if there could be a head nod or some other suggestion as whether we read this.
Well, I'll go back to what I said. I mean, my goal this morning was to get this map back to what it was in 2008, whatever that was. But that way it's, there's no taking, there's no nothing. It's what it was is today, and tomorrow the same thing. So I would leave it like with it.
Okay. Well, we
split, but that's me.
Okay.
Well, I agree with that, but I don't think you should further compound a planning issue by artificially subdividing a property with a comprehensive land use plan line through the middle of it. But
well, then let's do this. I can read the motion to amend the ordinance, and we'll see if it gets the votes, and if it doesn't,
Well,
it stays there.
If there's no motion, then It remains looking like that, right?
Exactly.
Like that, what's shown there now, where the whole thing would be colored as developing area.
The question really on the floor is, do we need a motion or not?
Right.
You're going to leave it like that, you're good to go, right?
Yeah, we don't have to change anything in the ordinance to leave it like that.
I'm
I just
satisfied
don't,
with it.
I mean, I don't know that it's the end of the world, but I just don't think it makes good sense to artificially subdivide a property like that, but.
I always,
How long is the motion?
It's not as long as the one I just read.
I still go back to, my goal was get it back to 2008. I'd prefer you to read the motion.
Okay.
And I'll make the motion. If there's no second, we move right on.
Okay, I can do that.
With your motion.
President, with your permission. So this one is, Mr. President, be it moved that Sussex County Council amend the ordinance to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan to delete tax map and parcel number 5-32, 12.00, 27.00 from the short title of the ordinance for the following reasons. One, after considering the information in the record and the 2008 comprehensive plan and the 2018 comprehensive plan, it is apparent that tax map and parcel number 532, 12.00, 27.00 was partially in the mixed residential area. Two, the mixed residential area designation matched the underlying GR zoning of parcel 27.00 in 2008. Three, there is no basis in the record to support the change of all of parcel 27.00 to the developing area designation, since the 2018 map matches the designation of the growth area that occurred in the 2008 map. As a result of this amendment, the short title of this ordinance shall now state as follows: an ordinance to amend the future land use map of the an ordinance to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan in relation to tax parcel numbers 5-32, 12.00, 1.00, and 5-32, 19.00, 1.00. And then, as a result of this amendment, Section 1 of this ordinance would now state, or shall now state, as follows. Section 1, the future land use map identified as Figure 4.5-1 of the Sussex County Comprehensive Plan is hereby amended to change the area designation of Sussex County parcel numbers 5-32, 12.00, 1.00, and 5-32, 19.00, 1.00 from the low-density area and or the existing development area to the developing area. The parcels so changed are identified in Exhibit A, attached hereto, and incorporated herein. So as a result of that change, the end result would be, with the first motion and this one I just read, is that this ordinance would only change both these parcel ones to developing area. It would leave this one as existing development area, and it would leave this one split like it was.
Okay. That's my motion.
okay. Do we have a question on the motion?
Or get a
Or second first?
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any questions on the motion?
You want to amend the motion?
It's up to you. I don't.
Do we, okay, so we need to, if you're going to have an amendment, we would need to vote on the amendment first, is that correct?
That's correct.
The
Motion right now is to amend
Right.
the short title, which is, in effect, and you tell me if I'm correct, Mr. Robertson, is to delete that one half, or it's the split zone.
Yeah, and maybe I misspoke on that, and I might have. Let me be clear on that. Thank you, Mr. Moore and Mr. Schaefer. If we act on this motion, it reverts back to what's shown here on the map.
Right.
If you don't act on the motion, this parcel is changed as requested to developing area along with these two parcels. So these would be the ones that are subject of that ordinance.
And those two you just pointed to are the ones that are currently in 2008 were the same color as the ones on the left. They were all colored the same way,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they were different.
Well, but
they
same-
were growth areas. They were all growth areas.
So that put it back where it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So if we were to want all three of those parcels to be entirely, I don't know what,
To look like this right here,
you would vote against the motion,
you would vote against the motion. Correct.
We do nothing.
or go not voting,
Wow.
or don't. Well, Mr. Vincent's already made a motion, so.
Well,
Got a
we don't-
motion,
we
and
wouldn't-
got a
we
second.
wouldn't-
We have a second.
We're amending the original that we passed by this, correct?
No?
No.
amending the original what? What do
Well, the
we?
original motion, which was to make it look the way it looks right now.
The original motion we did just did the left side.
Right.
Right, so the
Full screen
first,
up, get that mess off there, put it back 2008 was. Right. Now, leave it right there. Okay, don't bother, just leave it like that. Thank you. Is to do that. The first motion did that on the left side. The darker, whatever color that is.
Mango.
Mango, okay, mango. That was the first motion. The second motion that you just read does that?
Yes.
because this is the 2008, can you put the 2018 map? No.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah. The first motion leaves this the way it is. This is a growth area.
Correct.
So that first motion pulled that out of the ordinance to change anything because you decided you don't need to change it because it was a growth area, it's staying a growth area. The second motion that's on the table right now pulls parcel 27 out of the ordinance, which means that it would not be changed. It would be just like what you see here, which is half existing development area, half low density area. So if you vote against the motion, it's going to stay like this. Theoretically, if you vote in favor of the motion, then it's going to change. So it's all developing area along with parcel 1 and the other parcel 1.
Mr. Robertson, I'm not sure that was stated correctly. By voting, I think you flipped it. By voting yes, you're asking that to be deleted from the short title. Is that correct?
Which, are you talking about parcel 27?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think that's what you just said.
All right, so there's been a motion to do that, but there's no second yet.
Yes. Mrs. Green, second. Yes.
And that, so I'm not confused here. Are we dealing just with that one section of land?
With this,
Is there another motion to do the other two on over there?
we don't need to do anything with parcel 1 because they were part of the ordinance from the start. So if you just adopt the ordinance,
Okay.
both of those
Okay.
parcels 1 and parcel 1
Gotcha.
would change.
Okay.
I think I understand it now.
So if
Okay,
you're,
so
so if you,
just repeat, if you vote yes, this on the map, and if you vote
You do
no.
like it was 2008, if you
You're
vote
gonna
no.
sub- You're going to subdivide that one parcel in
Right.
basically in half if you
Right.
vote yes.
That's right.
correct,
If you vote no and the motion dies, then we'll have another crack at it.
you just voted on the short title. at
Yeah,
that
right. At
point.
that point, you just vote on the short title.
I don't think you should subdivide it, but that's just me.
Okay, so we have a
You got
motion and a second. I mean, any more questions or discussion? We'll take the vote. Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Mrs. Green?
I'm going to vote yes to put it back to the way it was originally in 2008. So my vote yes.
I don't think it makes sense to split that, and I'm a no.
I'll be yes. Welcome to that chair.
This couldn't have been an easy one, could it?
No. Curveball.
I just think from a practical planning standpoint, it's bad policy to subdivide parcels like that.
But it is by, but it is by a pretty strong natural barrier.
There's a natural barrier there for us to map.
Isn't it a stream there?
If you go, there's a ditch at least. It's already mapped that way, so we wouldn't have to map anything. But it's easy for us to map all the way. So.
I think I'm going to have to vote no because the parcels should be a parcel. The whole parcel should be one parcel. Or should be one, because then it make it very confusing. So I would vote no, motion denied.
Okay, so motion fails. So then we don't have to do anything in it.
So you'll now, if
We'll have
you
one
vote
more
to,
change.
yes,
One
one
more
more,
change.
and then the short title.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the minor change that we want to do is the way the ordinance currently read, section 2, this doesn't have anything to do with the mapping, so hopefully it's an easier one, is the ordinance as it was currently written said, the ordinance shall also take effect following its adoption by majority vote of all members of County Council, Sussex County, Delaware, and upon certification by the state of Delaware. And We just wanted to amend that so that it's effective when you all adopt it. So there's no ceding of any authority. Now, we recognize that, there's all sorts of statutory stuff, but it's effective when adopted as it relates to Sussex County. So the motion would be, with your approval, Mr. President.
Please read your motion.
All right. Be it moved that Sussex County Council clarify the effective date of this ordinance to the date upon which it receives an affirmative vote of all members of Sussex County Council. As a result of this amendment, Section 2 of this ordinance shall now state as follows. Section 2, this ordinance shall also take effect following its adoption by majority vote of all members of the County Council of Sussex County, Delaware.
Move for adoption.
Okay,
Second.
pleasure, council.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second.
I second it.
Any questions on the motion? All right, here now we'll take the vote. Mr. Schaefer? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion carried.
Okay, so now what we need to do is,
No.
again, with Mr. Morris' guidance on this.
Yes, we would,
We'll read the amended short title.
or typically, we would just read the short title and say, as amended by council in its previous motions.
Okay. So the short title is, well, actually, that motion did amend the short title, so I think the better thing to do
Yeah,
is to
read it as
the
amended.
amended short title. So the amended short title is an ordinance to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan in relation to parcel number 532.12.00-1.00, 532.12.00-27.00, and 532-19.00-1.00. And I do have, because there's been a lot of interest in this, a motion for this one as well.
Please read your motion, sir.
And it's be it moved that Sussex County Council adopt the ordinance to amend the future land use map of the of the comprehensive plan in relation to tax parcel number 532.12.00-1.00, 532.12.00-27.00, and 532-19.00-1.00 as amended based on the reasons given in the prior motions to amend that were adopted regarding the ordinance, and for the following reasons. 1, the Sussex County Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of all the map revisions. 2, following the hearing here at Council, staff performed an extensive review of the record and what occurred in the final drafting and adoption of the future land use map that appears in our comprehensive land use plan. This includes the record from the Planning and Zoning Commission and County Council workshops, hearings, and decisions. As a result of that review, the land use categories of several of the subject properties were reduced from having a growth area designation to a low-density area designation. That was inconsistent with what appeared in the 2008 future land use map, and there was no directive given from the Planning and Zoning Commission or County Council to return these land areas to a low-density area designation or eliminate the growth area designation given to them in 2008. Instead, it appears to have been primarily a last-minute technical change based on the draft land use because the draft land use category did not match the underlying AR1 zoning. The designation was changed to low-density area without any instruction from County Council to do so. 4, because there was never a decision to designate parcels 532.21.00-1.00 and 532.19.001-00 as low-density areas instead of growth area on the mapping, they should have been identified as being within the developing area, which is a growth area that is consistent with the 2008 future land use map and also matches the underlying AR1 zoning. In the 2008 future land use map, parcel 532.12.00-27.00 was identified as partially within the mixed residential area, which was also a growth area designation. Throughout the workshops, hearings, and deliberations on the 2018 future land use map, this property was identified as being entirely within the existing developing area, which is a growth area. As part of the technical revision that occurred in the final stages of the mapping process, this property was also reduced in part to the low-density area category. Like parcels 532.21.00, and 532.19.00, there was never an official recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission or decision by County Council to make this change. Parcel 532.12.00-27.00 should revert back to a growth area designation so that its boundaries match the boundaries of the future land use map, but with a developing area future land use designation to match its underlying AR1 zoning. In the case of parcels 532, 18.00-42.00, and 44.00, the current existing development area is a growth area designation, and it does match the underlying GR zoning. These properties were identified as a growth area in 2008, and they are currently identified as a growth area on the 2018 map. As a result, there is no need to correctively change this category to a developing area designation as requested. Planning and zoning staff have reviewed the future land use map, and it appears that this is a unique situation. With this map amendment, the underlying zoning of each property will match the land use category shown on the future land use map, and these categories will match parcel boundary lines. This corrective revision to the future land use map will not adversely affect neighboring properties, area roadways, or future land use planning in the area. This corrective revision does not affect the underlying zoning of any of these properties. In each case, low-density AR1 zoning is permitted and just as appropriate as a higher-density residential or commercial zoning is. Regardless of this map correction, any requested change in zone will have to go through separate public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission and County Council, and a decision will be made based upon whether the requested change is appropriate under the circumstances. This will enable the county, with ample public participation, to determine whether a different zoning classification or any specific use or type of development is appropriate here. This limited revision of the future land use map is appropriate given the particular and unique circumstances involved at this location. And for all these reasons, including the reasons given for amending the ordinances introduced, the ordinance should be adopted to amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan as amended in relation to parcel numbers 5-32-12.00, 1.00, 5-32-12.00, 27.00, and 5-32-19.00-1.00 to change those properties from the low-density area future land use category to the developing area future land use category.
Pleasure of council.
That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
For the reasons listed in the motion itself, I'd say yes.
Mr. Vincent?
My whole goal was to get it back to what 2008 was. I think we've done that with one minor tweak there, but and for the reasons you read, I think we've done the right thing. I'm voting yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.